Hello and welcome to another edition of Aston Originals Health Matters. I'm Helen from the Aston University Press team, and today I'm joined by Dr. Cassie Screti from the School of Psychology to discuss a topic most of us would rather not: inflammatory bowel disease, or IBD. More than 10 million people worldwide live with Crohn's disease and ulcerative colitis, which are collectively referred to as IBD. 25,000 people in the UK every year get a new diagnosis of inflammatory bowel disease. The two conditions are characterised by chronic inflammation of gastrointestinal tract and can be very debilitating. I know people with both conditions, and I'm sure many of you do too. Each year, on the 19th of May, World Inflammatory Bowel Disease takes place, with the aim of uniting people worldwide in their fight against Crohn's disease and ulcerative colitis, raising awareness and urging governments and healthcare professionals to take action and show support. Here at Aston University, a project has recently started that aims to improve the lives of young people with Crohn's disease, which has been led by Cassie. So, Cassie, first of all, could you please introduce yourself to our listeners?
Hi, I'm Dr. Cassie Screti. I'm a postdoctoral researcher here at Aston University, and I did my PhD here as well, starting in 2019.
So, firstly, can you tell us a bit about how Crohn's disease affects young people in particular?
So we tend to find that in young people with Crohn's disease, their symptoms tend to be a bit more severe than if you have it diagnosed later in life. So those could be symptoms such as extreme diarrhea, or the flip of that with constipation. It could be extreme fatigue, inflammation of the joints, which can sometimes meet sort of the symptoms of arthritis. It can be that severe, but also inflammation in other parts of the body, such as the eyes, the gums as well. So it can be really quite a very difficult thing to live with.
So you have developed a digital support program for young people with Crohn's disease. What exactly does it do and why is it needed?
So we've designed Assist IBD, which is, as you said, a digital support program for teenagers living with Crohn's. And what it does is it can help young people to follow their treatment plan. So IBD treatment plans can be extremely complex and person-centred. So it depends upon your own symptoms and what medications you're prescribed. So the way Assist works is that it allows young people to tailor the programme to meet the needs of their treatment plan. And by providing them with a plethora of support, whether that be written support such as information or some fun quizzes to take part in, but also audio and visual support. So some short videos written and created by teens with IBD, some really great podcasts written and recorded by teens with IBD, and also some sound bites with young adults who live with IBD. Young people are given so much support in each of the topics to help them set a goal, to overcome a barrier that's stopping them from following their treatment plan. So, yeah.
Okay. So in terms of like the treatment plans, what sorts of treatment plans might they be on and why are they so difficult to follow?
That's a great question. So it's very different for each person. And when you look at medication that young people are prescribed, there is so many different options. There are things such as tablet-based forms of medication, so steroids or other forms of tablets. There may be self-injections, such as very similar to maybe an EpiPen, if we think of it like that. There are also medications that you take in hospital that are given intravenously. Where you have to go sit in hospital for a few hours while you have your medication. So there are lots and lots of different options that young people can be prescribed. Some young people are also kind of follow the path of having a stoma, which also needs sort of looking after and all the things that come around sort of looking after stoma management. And other young people might be prescribed, particularly at the start of their journey, what's called a liquid diet, which is where they're prescribed a series of nutritional drinks, and they're only allowed to consume those drinks, no other food, for a couple of months.
I'm sure they're delicious.
I've heard they're not. I've heard some of them have quite a metallic taste to them. And they're very difficult for young people to have to do. If you think about what that can make you feel like, you might be at school with your friends eating around you and you're sat drinking this drink and not being able to engage with normal social sort of aspects. So IBD treatment plans are very different for each person. But there's lots of other things included in treatment plans that aren't just medication based. So there might be lifestyle factors included. So you might be given advice around diet, around exercising when you feel well. And that could be something as simple as maybe going up and down the flight of stairs once or twice when you're feeling up to it, but some sort of physical activity. Sleep. We know sleep is really important. And we all, as a nation, tend to get far less of it than we need, but it can be really important when in terms of helping the body to recover. But treatment plans also involve you kind of going to lots of different hospital appointments and talking to lots of people who you might not have met before, and forming those really important relationships that, you know, can be quite overwhelming when you're a teenager. And we know that there are loads of different reasons why young people struggle to follow their treatment plan. It might be something such as forgetting when and where you're supposed to do it.
Yeah.
You know, it's very easy to do. It sounds like it wouldn't be, but it is. Life can get busy. You might be sitting exams, you might be on holiday, and taking your medication at a certain time might just slip your brain.
Yeah.
You know, it's very simple. But I think the key with IBD is that it's kind of, in terms of IBD symptoms, they're sort of characterized by what we call remittance and relapse, where you might experience a flare, so you might feel really unwell. And then when you're in sort of remittance, you might either feel very well or just slightly well. You know, you tend to see an improvement in your symptoms.
Yeah.
And it can be very difficult sometimes to take medication that might make you feel unwell or might make you feel very different from your friends when you feel well.
Yeah.
You know, you might not really see the reason for taking it. So there are, I mean, those are just a few factors. There are lots and lots. And Assist tries to help with as many of them as it can.
Okay, that sounds like quite a big program to be doing. So the whole idea presumably came from your PhD, didn't it? So can you tell us a little bit about that and how that got started?
Yeah, so I was really lucky that my PhD was part funded by Crohn's and Colitis UK, which is obviously the leading charity in the UK for people with IBD. And sort of the base of it really came from a clinical need that our clinical collaborator, Dr. Rafiq Mohammed at Birmingham Children's Hospital, was noticing in clinics that maybe teenagers with IBD needed some form of extra support. So it was really important when I started the PhD to really understand as much as I could what it was like to be a teenager with IBD and what support needs they needed. So we started by doing a systematic review of the literature and having a look at it and seeing what had already been created. And I think it was quite surprising how little was out there, considering, as you said, with the numbers at the start, it's not a rare condition.
No, 25,000 a year just in the UK.
Exactly. So I was really surprised at the lack of support programs that were already out there. And also sort of the way in which they'd been designed. There wasn't as much clarity as possible within that reporting. So that was sort of a starting point in kind of seeing what was out there. But then we went out and we started to interview families from across the UK.
Yeah.
So we interviewed families from all over the UK. Actually, it was great, and it was during the pandemic. So
oh, wow.
we'd just gone into lockdown. So there was lots of things feeding into the interviews, but I was able to get a really good sort of snapshot into what it was like to be a teen with IBD, and families were really kind in the time that they took to really kind of explain things. And we also interviewed some healthcare professionals who work with teens with IBD as well, but which was really helpful to see it from their point of view. But we kind of understood that young people had a sense that they didn't really, there was kind of a list of support needs that they were kind of sharing with us. So feeling confident, knowing what to do when you hit an obstacle, you know, what do you do with that?
Yeah.
You might be really good at remembering to follow your treatment plan, and then, as I mentioned earlier, you suddenly start doing your GCSEs and everything goes up in the air. You know, how do I keep doing what I'm supposed to do when, you know, I keep facing all of these obstacles? And there was lots of other really interesting points that families raised with us. A really interesting one is that a lot of young people mentioned that they didn't feel like they understood their IBD. They didn't know why they were sort of prescribed medication or why they had to do this. But then they were able to describe it really eloquently and really in a very adult manner.
Yeah.
You know, but yet from themselves, from their point of view, they really felt like they wanted some more help to understand it. Where I was sat there listening, thinking, I'm blown away by what you're telling me. You know, this is in such detail. But I think as well, young people wanted a bit of support to sort of learn how to start doing things by themselves. They were aware that they might be moving to adult care in the future, and they wanted to kind of have a go at looking after their health by themselves. So what we did was we used all of that information from those two projects and kind of fed it into a way to design interventions called the behaviour change wheel.
Okay.
Which is a really good sort of way of mapping out sort of what behaviours you want to target, and sort of how you might create an intervention. So what intervention functions do you want to use, or are you going to do any fancy behaviour change techniques? You know, which ones are important? So through doing that, there was sort of this skeleton almost of what Assist IBD could look like. And And then it was really important for me to sort of not get too attached to the skeleton for a start. It was filled with lots of psychological theory and behaviour science, but actually I'm not a teenager living with IBD, and while the families we spoke to had been really helpful, it was really important for me to then get young people involved and to kind of show them the skeleton and say, what do you think? How do we now do this? And work collaboratively with young people to design it. So yeah, it's a really good time during my PhD, and it was really, really fun.
Yeah, so I'd like to pick up on that actually. That's quite interesting. The fact that to develop this app, you actually worked with young people who are going to be using it, and you're testing it with them as well. So how exactly have you done that? How did you kind of involve them in the development process?
So we've worked with two groups of young people. So during my PhD, I worked with a group of young people who called themselves, they gave themselves the names of the Crohn's and Colitis Team Voice Group, or the CCTV group, which is great. Love it. Absolutely love it. And what we did was we met online and we worked in a collaborative form whereby I kind of showed them bits of the skeleton and first of all said, do you like it? Do you not like it? What do we think about this? And then within our sessions, I started off by sharing the rationale for the decisions that we'd made and then kind of handing it over to them and saying, okay, so for example, we want to include some written information. What should be included? What should it look like? What kind of language should we use? How should it be displayed on the page? And really just gave them the full control to just get really creative and tell us what it should look like. And it's been brilliant. And I think when you work with young people in that way, you get so many new ideas that you would never have thought of doing. And it's really important to give people with that lived experience that opportunity to use their experience to help other people.
Yeah. So what kind of new and different ideas did you get that you hadn't previously thought of?
So we mentioned at the start sort of how different IBD treatment plans are for each person. And we knew that it was going to be really important for us this to be tailored and to provide tailored support to help young people set their goal. When you think of normal tailored support, you might think of someone talking like we are now, where somebody's saying, this is my problem, and somebody else going, okay, how about you trying this or trying that? And we knew that Assist was going to be online and the young people really liked that. So we were very confused, or sort of, we had lots of different ideas of what tailored support was going to look like, but none of it really felt like it was the right thing in our mind. So we asked the CCTV group, what's tailored support to you? And they came back very quickly with, it's a podcast. And I can remember sitting there in the session going, okay, I think this could work. This is really interesting. And they're like, it's create a podcast that's written and recorded by young people. We can talk about a load of barriers and give loads of solutions on how to overcome those barriers. You know, we can then, young people can listen to it wherever they want. They can listen to it on the bus. They could listen to it at home. You know, it's completely tailored. They can pick it up. If you put chapters in the podcast, they can pick which bits of it they want to listen to.
Yeah.
I can remember sitting in the session thinking, this is great. This is incredible. I would never have thought of doing this. You know, and actually we've recorded the podcast now for each of the modules. And they're great. They are honestly one of the best bits of Assist to listen to. And we recorded those with our new group who call themselves the Chronic but Iconic group, or the CBI group. Again, they're so inventive. It's brilliant. But yeah, the way it works is the young people identified some challenges and they just listed loads of different ways they could overcome them. And yeah, it was so innovative. And it's such a core part of what the Assist modules are. I really don't think we would have got there without our young people.
So I know in the sort of development process for the app, you used a lot of slightly unusual creative techniques, didn't you? Can you tell us a bit about those?
Yeah, so doing creative stuff, I love it. I think it's a really good way to design things, but also to help people share their thoughts in a unique way. So for example, if I asked you to give a definition of confidence or boredom, you might be able to say a few words about it. But if I then gave you a lump of Play-Doh or modelling clay or 20 or 30 Lego bricks and said, build confidence or build a model that shows me boredom, it's probably going to be a bit different to the words you're going to use. And it's really going to encourage you to kind of think outside the box. And that's really what we were looking for when we were kind of designing Assist. There's modules on how to feel confident to follow treatment plans, how to feel positive about the future, how to overcome obstacles. how to talk to healthcare professionals. And those are quite some big topics. So we wanted to make sure that the theme of them made sense. And by doing creative things with the young people, so with the CCTV group, but also with the chronic but iconic group, we were able to really get a better understanding of how they viewed things and why it was important to them. And it was brilliant. So we sent both groups a creative pack through the post, which contained everything you could probably think of. So Lego bricks, Play-Doh, paper, sticky notes, felt tip pens, stickers, lots and lots of coloured paper. And we got really, really creative in the sessions. And that just allowed young people to sort of express their thoughts in a very different way, but also maybe in a less intimidating way, in a way, than if you were to have a group conversation and somebody said to you, you know, okay, we're all going to listen to what you say, confidence is. It might feel a bit, I don't know if I want to speak, it's a bit uncomfortable. But if you've made something and you're just sort of showing an image of what you've made and explaining it, you know, you can really sort of express what you think in a different way. So yeah, we did lots and lots of creative things with both our groups, and we're looking to carry on that creativity within the project we're doing now. So the chronic but iconic group, who we're working with at the moment, will be involved in helping us analyse our data. So we'll be using lots of creative methods with them to help us understand their views on the data we are collecting at the moment.
So you're testing it at the moment, aren't you? So how is the testing phase going? What has it shown so far?
So what we did within my PhD was we tested if it was acceptable. So we showed it to a group of young people and we asked them for their thoughts on, you know, do you think young people are going to want to use this? Does this feel like it meets your needs? And ultimately the answer was a lot of young people said yes, if not yes. You know, they were really excited by it. And also the young people who designed it were really excited about the amount of emphasis we'd put on their own ideas and their own thoughts to create something, which was great. We also showed it to parents who, again, felt it was really acceptable. They were particularly keen in the fact that it had been so heavily co-designed by young people and that they had been so involved, but also that they really liked the tailored aspect to it. So whether you click on one of the medication modules or you click on something about lifestyle factors, you can tell the program what's in your treatment plan. And the program will then sort of show you, you can find that information. So you don't have to wade through loads of information that isn't relevant to you. You can tailor it to your own needs really easily. And parents really liked that. They thought that that's something that teenagers would be really interested in, as were the teenagers themselves. So now we're looking to assess the feasibility of it. So now we've been working with our chronic but iconic group to translate the prototype into a website. So working with our web designers as well to create something that's online and it's functional and it's great. And we're now looking to assess, is it feasible? So can young people use it? Do they like using it? Or don't they like using about it? So we're looking to find some families who live with Crohn's disease to use the program for about 12 weeks and then let us know what they think about it.
Okay, and how can people do that? That's probably going to be quite exciting to anybody who's listening to this, or at least we hope so.
So Assist IBD has got lots of accounts on lots of social media platforms. So we're on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter/X. So you can find lots of information there. We're also on TikTok. Or you can search Assist IBD on Crohn's and Colitis UK's website, and there'll be information on how to take part there because they're funding this part of the research as well, which we're really grateful for. Or you can get in contact with myself.
Okay, I'll make sure your email address goes up on the bottom there, and then people can get in touch with you directly.
Yes.
Great. Is there anything sort of message you want to give to sort of young people with IBD or who might be interested in helping test this?
It's really important for us that Assist IBD is co-designed by young people, and that isn't just within the development phase, from turning it from a skeleton to a prototype to now an online resource, but it's continually developing it. So we are really keen for young people to kind of use it and let us know what their thoughts are so that we can keep developing it and keep making sure that it is what young people with IBD need. You know, it's a really exciting program. There's lots and lots of interactive things in it, and loads of personal testimonies of young people with IBD and young adults with IBD in it as well as information from healthcare professionals. So there is so much support in there that you can kind of tailor to meet your own needs. So really interested to hear from you.
Great. Well, hopefully you'll get a whole avalanche of people wanting to help out. So Cassie, thank you very much for joining me on this podcast for World Inflammatory Bowel Disease Day. And everybody who's listening, thank you for joining us as well. And we'll see you next time on another edition of Health Matters.